It was the late 60s. I was visiting my parents in Minnesota, and fortunately there was an article in Time magazine about homosexuality. And I had been feeling around. I was planning on coming out to my parents, and this was one of my feelers. I studied the article in Time magazine, and then over breakfast one morning, we were sitting over coffee and just talking, and I said, "Have you seen this article in Time magazine? What do you think of this?" And my mother paged through it, looked at the article for a bit, and she said, "Well, to each his own." And my dad looked at the article, and he said nothing at all. And still, the seeds had been sown, and I thought I was going to be on pretty firm ground. So on their next trip to Boston, I decided I was going to come out to them, and we were sitting in my living room on the 13th floor overlooking Boston. My parents were sitting at a couch opposite me, and I said, "You know, I've got something that's really important, and so I want to talk to you, and I've been wanting to talk to you for quite a long time. And maybe you know some of this, and I don't know, but just let me speak, and then we can talk about it afterwards." And so I went a little further, and I said, "You know, I just want you to know that that I'm gay, and it's definite." I said, "Dad, you remember all that psychotherapy that I was going through when I was in college and even in graduate school?" I said, the reason was to turn me from gay to straight, and that was 6 or 7 years, Dad, you know. And initially you said you didn't think I needed the therapy. And I said, "Oh, but I do, because I can't even get into the monastery if I don't go through with this." And so, but I said, "Dad, you know, you were right. There was no way to change myself from gay to straight." And unfortunately, I had to spend a lot of time working at this, and I did work hard. And it's definite, you know, this is a part of me. This is who I am. My dad said, "Well, I hope you know this makes no difference to us. We love you anyway." And my mother said, "Don't go losing your job over this." And it was a bit ironic, because my father is usually the pragmatist, and my mother is usually the feeling piece of that relationship. The following day, I was cooking spaghetti sauce, something, and my mother was taking a nap. My dad put down the paper and came over to the stove where I was stirring the sauce, and he said, you know, he said, "You're not the only one." He said, "This homosexuality has been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. But your mother is a bit worried, and she's concerned about your job." And I said, "Yes, Dad, I know." And at the time, you could be fired for being gay. So I knew to be careful, and I certainly was. After that conversation, I called my parents anyway for my whole adult life. All of the conversations thereafter included what was going on in my gay life, and what was going on with this boyfriend or that friend. I think I was very, very fortunate in the 60s that my parents were so accepting. So I give them so much credit, because it was still viewed as a mental illness. And certainly their church was not pro-gay, but they certainly put family above church. So I'm just a very fortunate gay man.